please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. The stock on our radar now is 8K Miles. The stock has fallen 30% in the past 2 days of this week. Currently, it's at a 52-week low. Suresh Venkatachari, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of 8K Miles, joins us now. Good morning, Suresh. Thank you very much for joining us. There seems to be a lot of worry about the fact that the company has not declared the Q4 numbers. Is there any auditor problem? Why is it that the results are delayed?
Okay, there is no auditor problem or no issues. We adapted the Ind AS for the consolidated first time this year. So it was taking a little longer, and we announced the news last night that we will be releasing our consolidated financial on July 17th. But going forward, we don't see anticipate any delays, and we would be able to even release our first quarter results very quickly.
Okay, Suresh, good morning. There's a lot of buzz on Twitter, and there's a lot of investors saying that the company is not giving proper replies when investors are calling the investor relation team on the results, and they are quite worried about it.
See, we understand that we try to reply to as many people, but the thing is, it sometimes comes like a lot of things. That's the reason, one of the reasons we thought like we will, once we firm up the date, then we want to announce to the people and we want to tell them there is nothing to worry. The company is doing great. As a business, we are expanding very well. We have lined up a lot of new accounts. We opened up multinational accounts very recently also. So we are growing in our both healthcare and pharma sector. It is a really, I'm also concerned with the stock price, what it did, but it is because of, I think, the rumor. There is nothing to worry. None of the investors, I don't think, need to worry about it. And we'll be releasing our consolidated financials by July 17th, and also our quarterly results will be in time. Okay. So I want to just assure the investors there's nothing to worry. As a business, we are really doing well, and in fact, we won. Even last week, we signed a major contract, and also we are now getting into the government and the state. So those are the developments happening in the company.
Okay, Suresh, on July 17th, you will give us both the Q4 numbers and the Q1 numbers?
No, see, we can't do that both actually, because it's because you need to close the books. So sure. Q4 numbers of the annual financial result will be done on July 17th. And probably within the next 2 weeks, we will release the quarterly number too.
Okay, so you've said that the worries with respect to, the auditor resignations, etc., they are unwarranted. But any red flags that the auditors have raised recently with respect to the business?
No, we have not heard anything from our auditor, and everything is going as per schedule. The only thing is, like, when you adapt to Ind AS, I think our finance team has underestimated the effort involved. And that is one of the reasons it really took long. Okay. So that is the only thing. I think it's a mistake on our side. Our finance team could have been ramped up the resources, but we now adequately staff people. So going forward, it should able to really move forward better.
Okay. Could you have handled it better? I'm looking at the BSE side, the announcements. Of course, there's been an announcement about the board meet on July 17th, but it's taken you quite long. Before that, there was absolutely no announcement in this regard.
Yeah, we will make corrective measures. We noted your point, and I think that is one of the reasons unnecessary panic has created in the market. I think we should have handled better, and we will do it rightfully.
Okay, all right. So we just to reiterate, there are the auditors, Deloitte Haskins, stay. And there are no red flags that you anticipate on the P&L or Absolutely. The annual report.
And that is one of the reasons they signed the standalone financials, because they said, okay, you at least release the standalone on Fair schedule enough. And consolidated, we can do it. So there is no red flags.
Okay. Okay, so this is the only time that your numbers will have been delayed, right? I mean, going forward, you will be sort of releasing your numbers in time.
Absolutely. And actually, we used to release very in timely, but the Ind AS adoption probably that takes a lot of work for not only for the 2017-18, it's also for the previous year you have to do. So that's the reason it took long.
Fair enough. Can you say anything more about the first quarter business? You spoke about having signed some orders. Can you give us a little more color on how the first quarter was?
So actually this quarter is a really, we have between April and June, we have signed multiple accounts. So this will yield a lot of results in the next quarter onwards in terms of number. And also in the EHR space, we are in the final stage to launch in the public cloud. That is going to be a big milestone, which would help to grow into more number of hospitals as a SaaS model of revenue. So that will increase on a more recurring revenue model. And also in the Europe, we have started gaining traction. We have signed actually 3 new accounts in the Europe also the quarter.
Okay. Issue of pledge shares also being discussed, that you had taken some loan and had pledge shares, and those pledge shares might be getting sold in the market. If you can confirm that.
I don't think so, because we have only the pledge with IFCI, and IFCI loan has been subsequently reduced and they got sufficient coverage.
Okay. How much have you pledged? Sorry, I should have looked at the BSE filing, but if you could tell me.
I don't have the number right now with me in the hand.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Suresh Venkatachari, thank you very much for joining us and clarifying that there is no auditor issue and that the results will be declared. The consolidated results will be declared on July 17th. He is not expecting any red flags on the annual report from the auditors. And in 2 weeks' time, the first quarter numbers will also be announced. It's entirely an Ind AS issue adaptation problem. The 8K miles stock will come up for you. At one point in time, it was trading about 13% lower. Now still lower, but it's 9% lower. So a little bit of recovery in the stock after the clarification from the management. We'll, of course, look forward to July 17th. It's over to the technical advisors now. Ashwini, Mitesh and Rajat Bose are with us, and the markets after the first 1 hour have seen the dips being bought, both in the Nifty and in the Bank Nifty. Gentlemen, thanks much. Ashwini, you're continuing with your Nifty Bank buy at lower levels. I think when you spoke to us, it was 26,160.
Well, I've taken profits because if you get 80 points on a day where it was supposed to be sideways, intraday profits taken, but I have initiated longer term long positions with yesterday's low as a stop. Because, any level that's breaking down, that does not generally hang around. It breaks down, traps everybody and kills people. My sense is that we could hang around here and then slowly start to move on the upside. So that way, with yesterday's low, bottom of the range, I am betting that maybe something positive, etc. happens and the Bank Nifty goes towards 26, 750, 800. Similarly, the Nifty also post this little bit of choppiness, moves higher because we are not in a trending, sort of mode in the market. This entire year is sideways. So I'm taking that call. And meanwhile, a lot of stocks are bouncing back. Bajaj Finserv is now in the positive. TCS, stocks that I like, those 52-week high guys, they are making fresh intraday highs. So that tends to give support. So having said that, for the moment, Axis Bank is a buy with a stop of 512, target of 526. Reliance Industries is a buy with a stop of 960, target of 985. And IDBI is a sell with a stop of 56, target of 49. Even PSU banks are coming back. So that way, kind of market is short, and probably through the day, you will see some more pullback happening on the upside.
Okay, by the way, 8K miles has recovered quite a bit from the lows. It's still down about 10% but after the clarification from the management, there is a V-shaped recovery that we've seen in that chart. Just look at that now. It's moved up quite a bit. Mitesh Thakkar and Rajat Bose are also with us. Gentlemen, morning to both of you. Mitesh, looks like a tough market, although the indices have now moved into the green, the Sensex and the Nifty. But on individual stocks, what are you recommending?
Yeah, I think this kind of choppiness will continue, and you might not get a directional movement. I think most of the indicators being flat. I think this range-bound movement might extend for another 2 days. For the timing, I have one buy and one sell. ICICI Pru has just broken below support levels of 370 and is now coming back to those levels. So good risk-reward equation. Take a short with a stop at 374 for targets of 354. And Godrej Industries, that's moved up slightly higher, but around 623, 624. Would be a good buy with a stop at 613 for targets of 642.
Okay, Ashwini, you said Bajaj Finserv. What about Bajaj Finance?
All of these guys, they've had 2-3 down sessions. Chances are, buying comes back. This is bottom of the range. If you buy here, I think, and it works out, you could easily have a 10 to 15% rally on all of these 52-week high guys. I think that's happening because otherwise you can't have all these large stocks turning around at the lower boundary all at once. Today, you should have taken out yesterday's low by now if the trend was showing you follow through.
Bose is also with us. Rajat, quickly, can you take us through your stocks as well?
See, I have only 2 stocks and both are a buy. Since the Nifty is above 10,667, I consider that the market will actually do well, especially the larger stocks. Bajaj Finserv, I will put a stop loss below 5,800 and target would be 559.38. And Axis Bank is also a buy. My stop loss is below 514, 525 and 527.25 are the 2 targets. And I would say that unless we take out 10,716, this rally may not sustain.
Okay. Well, we will look out for that number. Thank you very much, Rajat Bose, for your stock ideas as well as for the Nifty level that you will watch out for. At the moment, though, of course, the Nifty is pulling back somewhat and heading closer to the 10,700 mark, a 0.25% higher, and a reasonable pullback from 0.6% down to now flat for the mid caps as well. And as our ticker has been telling you very helpfully, Shrey Infrastructure is off 7% from the lows. 8K Miles is off about 6% from the lows. So a bit of short covering is clearly in order at this point in time. We'll do one thing, we'll let the market find its level. For the moment, let's revert back to the longer term themes that we have been discussing this week. One of them is, of course, Tata Steel and Thyssenkrupp having signed a definitive agreement to combine their European steel operations. The 50-50 JV will create the continent's, that is Europe's, second largest steel company, and Tata Steel's Kaushik Chatterjee spoke to CNBC TV18 on this occasion. He said that Thyssenkrupp JV will be EPS accretive as 50% of the company's profits will flow into Tata Steel India. He is speaking to Nisha Podar, says full synergy benefits of 400 to 500 million euros will take about 2 to 3 years. Listen in.
I think, this is a collaboration and a partnership that has been built on a very strong industrial logic and footprint. And I think the Indian shareholders and the company will be in a much more financially robust position. Not only are we going to look at deleveraging on the deconsolidation of about 2.5 billion euros of debt, we will have consolidated interest costs which will come down by about maybe 1,000 crores. We create balance sheet appetite for the growth in the Indian business. And therefore, I think it will certainly have an earnings accretive position. Not to mention about the fact that as a 50-50 joint venture, when we account it on an equity basis, we will have the earnings of the joint venture company, and with our expectation is also that it will be a free cash flow business from which the shareholders will be duly serviced.
So you've said synergies of 400 to 500 million euros per year. Is that expected to clock in from the very first financial year of your operation as a merged entity?
So I think there are certain synergies which has the potential to start faster than the others. For example, there are ones which are the procurement synergies and synergies on account of the network. These are the ones which will come in possibly first, and then there are synergies which will flow in as we go along. Our estimate is it will take 2 to 3 years to mature on the numbers that we have guided for.
You said that 2.5 billion euros passed on to the joint venture that will be deconsolidated from Indian entity. So that means 20,000 odd crore rupees going from your overall net debt that you left in the end of FY18 at 86,000 crore rupees. So that will reduce to 66,000 odd crore rupees. But then you're also buying out Bhushan Steel, where you've said that you're taking a debt of 16,500 crore rupees. What are your plans for debt management? Are you comfortable with these levels? And with this debt on your books, would you still pursue Bhushan Power and Steel?
So I think if you have to look at the Bhushan Steel acquisition, this has been done on a very prudent capital structure. We've contributed about 18,000 crores of equity 18,000 crores of equity related from Tata Steel, and about 16,500 of debt for a 5 million plus ton facility with very strong asset configuration, especially on the downstream, and a market presence. We are replacing debt with the acquisition of fundamentally strong Indian operations, as in the acquisition in Bhushan Steel. Bhushan Power, I can't comment because it's currently...
Well, Laxmi Vilas Bank is the bank on our radar now. The bank has announced that it is going to be raising funds to the extent of, I think, 1,500 crores. It's taken permission for that. But separately, there is also a dispute that it has with Religare Finvest. And apparently, SEBI has also pulled them up for not disclosing it in the regulatory filings. Parthasarathi Mukherjee, the Managing Director and CEO of Laxmi Vilas Bank, joins us now. Good morning, Mr. Mukherjee. Thank you very much. Can you just take us through this Religare Enterprises suing you and you having to seize their FDs because the loans to their promoters, Malvinder Singh, was not repaid. Can you just take us through the problem, and did SEBI really write to you?
Lata, I'm unable to comment on this at all.
Okay.
And in any case, we've stepped into our silent period, so I am unable to discuss anything concerning the bank at this moment.
Okay. But this is only a regulatory issue. Even that you cannot clarify whether there was anything that SEBI asked you to file to the Bombay Stock Exchange. Have you since filed it?
You would have found a response that we had given to the stock exchanges, which were quite self-explanatory. I'm sure you would have got enough answers there, of course.
Okay. Mr. Mukherjee, good morning. I wanted your thoughts also on the latest news flow on the government setting up this AMC for selling the bad assets. Do you think that this measure would sort of yield any kind of interest at all from, from foreign investors, from PE investors, etc.? And what are your thoughts on how this could progress?
I think it will get interest. It will see a lot of interest. We've been seeing a lot of bilateral interest coming to us from investors abroad on buying stressed assets. So I imagine this may not be a bad idea after all.
Okay. But do you think they will be able to put together, will funds be interested in buying stressed assets through an AMC, or do you think bilateral sale to stressed asset funds would be easier?
The stressed assets fund concept, of course, needs a lot of clarification, so I'm unable to say whether a direct trade can happen. But thus far, a number of trades have happened through the ARC route.
Okay, you said that a lot of bilateral interest has been coming to you from investors. Are these mostly to do with, I mean, a lot of foreign investors or domestic investors? I mean, what are the nature of the investments that we are looking at?
It's a mix. We've seen interest from both domestic and foreign investors on this.
Okay. Can you take us through your fundraising plans as well? You're planning to raise 1,500 crores, right?
Lata, as I mentioned, now that we've got into the silent period, I am told that I am not in a position to speak on fundraising for the rest till my first quarter results come out.
Okay, you can't speak about the numbers, but at least you can tell us in general about the trend that you're seeing as far as the industry is concerned. How is rural credit looking, consumer credit? Have you seen a pickup compared to what we saw over the last 2 quarters?
Yes, I do see some pickup actually. There is some interest overall. SME, yes, there is demand. At the same time, one must be careful. I think there is a relatively heightened level of stress in the SME books too. But certainly there is demand.
Okay, relatively higher level of stress. So now, would you say that therefore we should be prepared for higher NPAs from the banking system? I mean, until now we saw only the large assets being recognized. Do you think the sector will now be forced to recognize SME loans because you have the new February 12th dispensation as well?
The recognition of stress in the SME book is an ongoing process. I imagine a lot of that has been recognized already and on a regular basis as and when they develop. Obviously, the concept of, shall we say, evergreening is a lot less today. So a lot of that is being recognized as it emerges. So my sense is a lot of the stress has been seen, has already been recognized. The incremental stress will be recognized as and when the market sees it.
No, what I'm asking you, Mr. Parthasarathy, is that the February 12th circular said that starting March 1st, only even for one-day default, the banks have to get together and start to put in a bit of a resolution plan or speak to the management. Now, therefore, this is the first quarter we have where you have the full effect of this one-day default and the process that the banks have to put in thereafter. Therefore, you know, do you think that in this quarter, the banking sector will be faced with more NPAs? I mean, you can discipline some people into returning the loan on day one, but a large number will be used to T+89 to return the loan.
I'll put it to you this way. It does not automatically mean that you will see more NPAs in the system. Clearly, there will be a lot more of activity among the banks. The engagement with borrowers is a lot more intensified today. I don't think it automatically translates into recognition of NPAs.
Okay, but the view was that the SME sector has sort of staged a bit of a recovery after, you know, the dual impact of GST and demonetization. You're not seeing any major recovery. I mean, at least that's the feedback that we got from the industry.
No, I agree. The SME sector has actually recovered from the GST shock and it has adapted itself remarkably well, actually, if you ask me. Much better than what we had thought would happen. However, I'm maintaining that in general, the stress in the sector is a bit higher. And it need not necessarily be linked to GST.
Let me come back to where we began, the AMC and the ARC issue. You said that your bilateral conversations on asset sale have been fairly good. Will you be able to reduce your stress significantly through sale to ARCs? Because Q4 saw a sudden jump in your GNPA.
The efforts are on, and clearly we will be endeavoring to reduce the gross and net NPLs through a variety of means, including sales to ARCs. I'm sure the ARC route could look quite attractive going forward.
What is your sense about this Sunil Mehta endorsed AMC plan? When do you think it could be up and running? Anyone, maybe a sector fund, a power fund or whatever, do you think the first asset sale could happen in the next quarter, say in the July, August, September quarter?
I wouldn't bet on Q2, but with luck Q3.
Finally, you had announced to the exchange that you're raising money. That means your outlook on loan growth should be reasonably positive. Can you give us some direction as to how loan growth might pan out this year?
I'm hopeful of seeing very reasonable loan growth. You'll appreciate that we've been careful in the past about growing the book, partly because of the situation with our capital. I'll put it to you this way, that loan growth should not be, shall we say, very poor.
No, last year I think
around the system growth.
Last year your advances growth was 8.6%. You would be confident of doubling that, or at least very close to, I mean, say a 15% should not be difficult this year? It's a low base after all.
I would hesitate to put a number, but I would certainly endeavor to do a lot better.
Okay. And what about sorry?
No, I just wanted to come back to that point about ARCs. What is the quantum of NPLs that you would be looking to sell through the ARC route?
Sonia, I wouldn't really put a number. It's going to be a case by case. Every asset would be looked at by the ARCs, and we are talking to multiple ARCs. And depending on the success in the negotiations, we'll work it out. We haven't really fixed a target. The intention is to clean up to the extent possible.
Okay. Generally, is the banking sector better off in terms of margins? Given the movement in the market, you should be able to price your loans higher, isn't it?
My feeling is in the short term, margins should be under some degree of pressure.
Okay.
Partly because of the accelerated recognition of NPLs.
Okay.
But going forward, I would be of the view that things will look up quite a bit.
Now, what is this forward, sir? Is it Q3 or is it Q4? Or is it FY20?
It cannot be a system point. I think it will depend on bank to bank. Many banks, in my opinion, have cleaned up substantially. They should see improvement possibly quicker. There are many who will probably take on the entire financial year to clean up.
Okay.
So it would be difficult for me to generalize.
But for yourself?
I would say that as you move quarter to quarter, you will clearly see an improvement overall for the system.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mukherjee, we've run out of time. Thanks for joining us and giving us an update. That's Laxmi Vilas Bank. But you know what? Let's focus back on the markets, the commodity markets particularly, because crude, as we've been telling you, has once again risen to almost $78 a barrel because of those issues in Libya. Manisha Gupta joins in now with a quick roundup of all that's happening in the commodity space. Manisha.
Thank you so much for that, Sonia. Yeah, can't see it lying too low for too long is what really is happening with the crude oil prices. Libya in a couple of places has declared a force majeure, and that is the reaction that you are seeing on prices for the crude oil. We have seen a percentage point of gain coming for the international markets, and that's exactly what we are mirroring here as well. So markets really are watching out for various things. On one side, it is the kind of supply surge that you have seen come in from Russia, Saudi Arabia and US. But on the other side, there are supply concerns and more countries really being added to that list. We were talking about Canada, Venezuela, Iran, Angola, Nigeria, and now we've added Libya to that list as well. And the demand expectations are on the higher side for the rest of 2018. So you are going to look at buying on all dips when it comes to the crude oil prices. It actually is a fresh 44-month highs for the US crude oil prices. Brent, of course, continues to trade along that $78 per barrel in Asia right now. The gold and silver price as well is one sector where you have seen pressure continue. We did see the gold prices continue to decline. It actually is trading below $1240 per ounce in the global markets. It is about the rupee depreciation, and that's the reason you have seen those calculations actually being better than what the international counterparts are doing. Keep an eye on silver, because in the last 10 days, we have seen the silver prices not only decline below 40,000 rupees per kg, but it is now trading below 39,000 as well. It has broken below $16 per ounce in the global markets, and this is the first time that has happened. So it is a 2018 lows that we are dealing with in sense of this sector. The base metal prices have been quite volatile as well. If you look at the exports numbers from Japan, South Korea and China, they have shown a slowdown in the month of June, and that can be seen in case of the metal space. So you have copper trading at a 7-month lows. Aluminum prices, after falling 7% in the month of June, have continued to decline in July as well. There is tremendous pressure that you have seen come in for nickel and zinc as well. Nickel actually tends to be an underperformer, and the fundamentals are not so good, and that is the reason we are looking at breaking below that 1,000 mark in the Indian markets as well. Very flat trades coming in on your screens for most of that. Trading strategies is what we have from Angel Commodities, and they have a view on the Indian rupee as well, which they expect to depreciate going further. The 1-month futures actually can breach above 69 as well. 69.40 is the kind of level that they're working with in the day-to-day. In the commodity space, they're looking at lead, which is a sell with 163 of a target onto that one. In the energy sector, they are looking at natural gas, which also is a sell with targets of 193.